Good morning, everyone, and thank you for giving your time to come to this web clinic today. Irrespective of how familiar you are with Patrick Lencioni's book, The Five Dysfunctions of a Team, we want to ensure you get the most out of this session, so the plan is to introduce you to the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team, a process that takes the team model from the original book and combines it with a personal behavioural profile in order to provide insights for individuals within teams. Then we'll develop how the process can be applied in any organisation. If you have any questions during the clinic, please type them into the chat box and we'll answer as many as possible at the end. This is a 30-minute web clinic, allowing a few minutes at the end for any questions, after which we'll send you a sample report from the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team and any other information you'd like about the programme and the process. So now let me hand over to our presenter, Penny Reid.
Thank you, James. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by referring to the title of this web clinic, Teamwork, the Ultimate Competitive Advantage. Paraphrasing Pat Lencioni's own words, most organisations believe that their product, technology, service, strategy is exactly what sets them apart from the competition. Pat Lencioni says that while these things are both implicit and important, when an organisation focuses on getting people working together in productive, cohesive teams, they will accomplish great things, and teamwork may be the organisation's ultimate competitive advantage. Getting people to work together as a cohesive team is simple in principle, but it is hard work, and it will pay off. So why do so few teams function well? Why are they dysfunctional? In fact, Pat has been challenged many times to change the book's title, but his own consultancy work has consistently highlighted behaviours that affect optimum team functionality. I think we've all experienced what it feels like to be on at least one dysfunctional team. These are the sort of things that I'm sure, like me, many of you have found yourself writing up on flip charts as people call out. These are just a few of the characteristics that people identify. And this led Pat to present them in a hierarchical model, where the inattention to collective results at the top of the pyramid is driven by dysfunction in any or all of the underpinning factors. The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team is a proven model, and since the book was first published in 2002, many organisations have used it to try to get beyond the dysfunctions of underperforming teams. Until now, many have created their own ways of introducing the model into their organisations by developing a process to convert the dysfunctions into a more effective working relationship. This led to the need for a simple but powerful measurement process where the challenges were, 1, how to improve team functionality at each level of the model, and 2, how to measure it. What's required is a way to measure if a team trusts one another, engages in healthy conflict around ideas, commits to decisions, holds one another accountable, and focuses on achieving collective results. Pat Lencioni's model suggests that these 5 behaviours are inherent in a high-performing, cohesive team. And the model will help you understand how a specific team behaves as a unit and how the team can change as a whole to work more effectively together and achieve exemplary results. It will also help people understand how they perform on different teams with different co-workers and different goals. Now, as Pat says, we're not talking about soft and fluffy here. We're talking about hard-nosed business reasons for cohesive teams, results that are collective, are better, and are sustainable. For those of you who are consultants, whether internal or external, you will recognise that the principles fit very well with the values and core strategies of most organisations. When we add in the everything DIS model, team members really begin to understand each other's behaviours and the impact these have on team dynamics. The Everything DIS behavioural assessment provides deep insight into each team member's behavioural needs and communication style, and with this information you can better understand yourself and your co-workers. You'll also understand how to make simple adjustments to your own style so you can be more effective. For example, team members who prioritise collaboration seek harmony on a team. Others may prioritise relationships and therefore seek acceptance from their teammates. Some team members prioritise results and just want to get things done, so they seek action. And team members who prioritise accuracy may seek accurate information and facts. So when we put everything DIS together with the 5 dysfunctions of a team model, you have the combined power of 2 highly respected and well-researched models. The 5 behaviours of a cohesive team starts with an assessment in which each team member responds to 3 sets of questions. 1, the everything DISC about their behavioural preferences and style. 2, questions about the individual's perceptions of this specific team. And questions about the culture in this specific team. It takes about 20 minutes to complete, and the report is generated for each person and contains both their individual and the combined team data. One very important factor is the privacy that each team member has when completing the assessment and in how they choose to share the information. I'll highlight a few of the pages in the report in the next few minutes, so you will be able to see for yourself how this powerful assessment incorporates both individual and team data. To recap, the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team model emphasises how a truly cohesive team focuses on collective, sustainable results from a sound base of trust and healthy interaction that leads to decisions to which each member genuinely commits and holds each other personally accountable. So let's work through the process by starting at the base of the pyramid. Our model begins with a foundation of trust. It's easy to say, I trust you, but Pat Lencioni believes that in order to build a foundation of trust, we have to be transparent and honest with one another. This requires being vulnerable, admitting mistakes, and asking for help when you need it. Vulnerability-based trust is the foundation of a cohesive team. Without it, the other behaviours are inherently unsound. In building trust, we create a safe place to talk about some very important interpersonal differences. And through the process of building trust, we can move from judging through to valuing. The natural instinct we have to differences is to judge them. She's too demanding, he's too cold, she's too flighty, he's too soft. In the 5 behaviours model, we start by understanding why other people are different. Then we respect. There's nothing wrong with thinking that way. Then we appreciate. I can see why you'd act that way. Then we value. Those qualities you bring to the table, a lot of them are actually pretty valuable, and I'd value being able to tap into those skills. So let's take a look at the report. On page 4 of every report, we see a summary of the specific team scores in each of the 5 areas. Using a simple traffic light system, red signals a low score, yellow is medium, and green is high. In this example, the team appears to have some challenges. On page 5, we have the start of the first module, Building Trust. we see an overview, including the team averages for each of the 4 trust items to which each participant responded. On pages 6 and 7, we dive deeper into the team scores for each of those trust items. We can see the range of responses, which can be enlightening, especially when there's a wide range of responses. The accompanying narrative for each item provides clear insight into how the team sees itself. The Everything DISC model is introduced on pages 8 and 9, and the facilitation resources provide additional information for teams who are not familiar with DISC, including an introductory video. Participants will learn about their DISC style and will begin to see that other styles may be different. They'll begin to understand how their DISC preferences influence behaviours, especially as they begin to focus on vulnerability-based trust. A few pages further on, we see the team's behavioural preferences plotted on a map of the DISC model. This helps the participants see how they are similar and how they are different, how the team may be skewed in behavioural terms, and particularly where 1 or 2 members are significantly different from the rest of the team. Page 10 in the report includes some general indicators of these primary styles, and this graphic may also be dynamically generated as a poster. Again, in my experience, it's a useful aid memoir in meetings. This takes us on to how to improve the culture of trust in the team. As each participant responded to the statement, there would be more trust on our team if people ... by selecting as many of the actions listed as they wanted. For example, on this team of 8, 7 indicated there would be more trust on the team if people reduced the amount of gossiping. Using the dynamic questions at the bottom of this page, the facilitator can guide a discussion about how the team can minimise unproductive or malevolent chatter. This module ends with a summary and action plan for building vulnerability-based trust on this team, and it's the same process for each of the next 4 levels. We then move on to our next step in building a cohesive team: mastering conflict. As you've seen, trust is the foundation of the model, and Pat believes that only when you have this foundation of trust on a team can team members have healthy ideological debate and conflict. Engaging in unfiltered, constructive debate around ideas is another key component of a cohesive team. In the 5 Behaviours of a Cohesive Team report, the team will be guided through the items on conflict in the same way as we saw for trust. With the map on page 16 that shows which behaviours are healthy behaviours during conflict and which behaviours are unhealthy. In my experience, this is one of the most powerful discussions you can have when people realise how quickly a healthy behaviour can become unhealthy. This image is also available as a poster and is very helpful as a reminder in team meetings. Healthy conflict sets the stage for commitment because people will have had the opportunity to share ideas, opinions and thoughts and feel that they have been heard. It's important to understand that commitment does not equal consensus. People can disagree, but having had healthy conflict will have had the opportunity to air their views. In this way, all can commit to the team's decisions. Page 22 of the report shows the team some of the reasons they don't commit. This allows them to focus their efforts so that they can get buy-in to decisions that the whole team commits to. Another important point about this model is to be sure to define accountability as peer-to-peer accountability. We're not just talking about personal accountability, I'll do what I say I'm going to do. We're talking about holding one another accountable, and that can be difficult. It's hard to tell your colleagues that you think they're not pulling their weight or to question their approaches or processes. It's also too easy to leave it to the team leader to deal with under or poor performance. Page 29 highlights some of the ways the team can hold one another accountable. The suggestions are from the team culture questions that the participants answered on accountability. So in this example, 7 of the 8 team members indicated that their ability to hold one another accountable would improve if they called one another out on unproductive behaviour. Like all 12-step programs, acknowledging this makes it easier for team members to actually do it. Team members may feel in conflict between their own personal goals and the team's goals. But if they have trust, if they can engage in healthy conflict, if they can commit to the team's decisions, and if they are willing and able to hold one another accountable, they will be able to focus on the collective results of the group rather than let personal goals, for example, career, status, ego, etc., get in the way. If the team can focus on truly collective results, individual priorities will not suffer. Page 33 of the report highlights some of the distractions that keep teams from focusing on collective results. Using this information, the team can work on putting individual results aside so they can focus on the team's results. The last 2 pages of the report contain a great summary and jumping off point for post-workshop implementation. Page 35 lists the team's top 3 strengths along with points of discussion. And page 36 lists the team's top 3 challenges along with points of discussion. And these pages are used in the overall wrap-up portion of the programme. Now you should note that the list of the top 3 strengths and challenges shows the category that the strength or challenge comes from. So overall, the team can prioritise its efforts on maintaining those strengths and minimising or overcoming the challenges. The 5 Behaviours of a Cohesive Team is a comprehensive programme. It's facilitated with an intact team. One of the benefits of the programme is that everything is integrated. The individual input is included with the team and culture data. So generally, an intact team is 3 to 12 people who work together as a work group, a leadership team, a project team, or have work dependencies with one another in, for example, a virtual team. It is vitally important that the team leader is wholly committed to the process and willing to demonstrate this. In my experience, it's particularly valuable to offer pre-assessment interviews to everyone on the team so as to invite personal contributions and allay any concerns about the process. Modules range from 1.5 to 3 hours per module. Each module includes activities and discussion, as I've shown you, and it's important that the facilitator allows the time for the discussion. The process should not be rushed. Most teams go through the introduction, trust and conflict modules in one session, then come back and continue with the rest of the programme on a second consecutive day or at a later date. Now, this programme always works best when held off-site, as per Pat's own recommendations, so that all the distractions of the office are removed. Team members need the time and space on their own to really think about themselves as a team and need an external facilitator who doesn't know any members of the team well enough to have allegiances that could or would introduce bias. As you cascade the programme within an organisation, an external facilitator could be someone who's from another department but who has facilitative skills. But this isn't a one-time training event or workshop. Progress can be measured, giving the perfect opportunity to measure our return on investment. The team members can complete a second assessment within an agreed time frame. I'd advise somewhere between 6 and 12 months, from which a progress report is produced. From this example, you can see how the original results are compared with current results, allowing team members to see the impact of any specific actions they've chosen to implement. Some of the later results may, of course, reflect a greater realism about the team's functioning. We'll send you a copy of a sample progress report so that you can see and appreciate both the level of detail and the overview. The kind of solutions this program offers include establishing a common language with which the team can communicate, standardizing expectations within the teams to improve accountability, strengthening leadership abilities, and creating an emotionally intelligent culture within teams. What outcomes can, can organisations and teams expect after experiencing the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team programme? This slide lists 3 critically important outcomes within teams. The stronger bonds within the team, their internal contract for success, and a real growth and development plan for them as a team. And for the organisation, there are other results. The team becomes much more visible. By this I mean their visibility as a team rather than individuals. And therefore the impact of what the team does as a team is clearer. Their working relationships across the organisation are improved, and of course individual team members become more productive. And here's a testimonial from one of the most well-known companies in the world, showing that even the most successful organisations realise teamwork may be the ultimate competitive advantage. And here's some of the feedback from other satisfied customers who also recognise that even the smartest people will benefit from this approach to working together for optimum performance. So, James, over to you. Do we have any questions that have arisen during the presentation?
Yes, we do. First one, do I need training to run my own 5 behaviours session? And there was another question which sort of ties in. Is there any guidance for facilitators to prepare for potential issues during workshops?
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, the first question can be answered very simply. Taking the cue from Pat himself about not overcomplicating the process. If you have facilitative skills, if you have experience in this field, you will not need to be trained, and there is no prerequisite to be trained. You can buy a facilitator's kit which will provide you with all the PowerPoint slides and the very few supplementary handouts that will aid discussion. The primary tool is the assessment report itself. And in answer to the second part of your question, is there any guidance in preparing for issues? There is one special tool. It is called the Annotated Team Report, which is provided for the facilitator, and what it does is produces the report that the individuals see, and then it has little sidebars pointing the facilitator to where specific issues may need to be addressed, and even giving you some links with the book and the facilitator kit that is available. There is a kit that you can buy, and I'm sure Jan will be able to provide you with more information. I hope that helps. Further question, James?
Yes, what would you recommend? This came in before the mention of the follow-up report. There was a question about what would you recommend for follow-up to keep the momentum of the team, and I think that's pretty much the key to that, isn't it, the follow-up reports?
Yes. Certainly to keep momentum going, In my what I've done with teams I've worked with is recommend that they use some of the little techniques like a 30-second go round at the beginning of meetings, so that each individual shows what's going on in their patch, certainly in relation to the team. But it gives them the opportunity to make some points about maybe some priorities that are taking their eye off of the team ball. It allows them to open up that conversation. So getting that onto team meeting agendas, that's good. But yes, the big tool is the progress report tool, which allows you to come back and look at what the impact of any decisions to improve in certain areas is.
Right. This is a good one. Again, two questions that kind of cover the same sort of ground. The first one was, how quickly can I set up a session and get going? And the second one was, is there a quick way of letting participants know what to expect?
Okay, let me take the second one first. There is a really nice little introductory video which is available through the facilitation materials, but also you can automatically add to the email that goes out with the access code that people receive to enable them to produce the report. So it gives them a quick overview of the model and what they will be experiencing. The first part about how quickly can you get going, well, as quickly as you like to make the decision. We offer a couple of packages in terms of, do you want to have a system? Some of you are familiar with the EPIC system that produces the Everything Disc reports. All we would do if you wanted to go ahead with these is to add this product to the list of products that you have available. And then you simply purchase credits in the same way as you're used to doing, and issue access codes in the same way. So it can all be customized for you in your organization or your consultancy. We can do that within 24 hours. You just need to say you want to go ahead.
Next question, how can I apply this to my remote team?
I think this is one of the most interesting parts of this particular tool, because clearly the maximum benefit comes from if you can at least get them together on one occasion. And I know that even in remote teams, most organizations will try to get their teams, remote teams, together once a year or at some time. So it's an ideal thing, even if you can only do the first 1, 2, or 3 modules with them together in the same room. I think you'll appreciate, even from this speedy run through, that you could do the subsequent tools by video conferencing, by using a tool such as we are today, using GoToTraining or a WebEx facility of some sort. The primary thing is to get people to open up discussion, and on that first level of trust, in my experience, you do need to have people face to face, so that, just to paraphrase this, you can see what people are saying, not just hear what they're saying. So you can apply it, and it has been used very successfully. We're very lucky in a relatively small country like the UK. We can quite often get people together quite easily. But how you would be able to do this in bigger countries, the US, where flying people 3,000 or 4,000 miles to come together just for a couple of hour session is neither, these days, is not always practical. It's not even cost effective. So what I've found is you can be incredibly creative with this program.
Great. Another question, how would you go about integrating new team members?
That's a really good question, and it is one of the beauties of having this linked with the Everything Disc model, because you can, obviously, a new team member is not going to have very many views about what it's like to work in this team, or what they think the culture of this team might be. So the two-thirds of the assessment would actually not be terribly valuable at the outset, from the point of view of incorporating their views in that overall team view. But in my experience, if they do the Everything Disc tool separately, you at least get some ideas about how behaviorally they might be able to integrate with the team, or what issues might be dealt with. And at that point, the rest of the team should be experienced enough and able enough to have the conversations guided by a facilitator around how it might impact the different levels of the 5 behaviours of a cohesive team model. I should can I just add, just add at this point, that one of the beauties of having this integrated into the EPIC system is that if somebody has done an Everything DISC workplace profile, if you issue a 5 behaviours access code, they only have to answer the questions on the team culture, because you can integrate the questions they've already answered on a previous occasion if it's not too long before.
Great. Final question. I think we can just about shoehorn this into the end. Do people need to have taken a DISC profile before going through this program?
The short answer is no, they don't. As I've just explained, you can integrate it, and certainly it sort of cuts down a part of one of the modules in explaining the behavioural model itself. If you have done it, if you've done some pre-sessions. And it is quite a nice follow-on if you've got people saying, well, okay, I've learned a little bit more about myself. How does this affect the way I work in a team? But it's not a prerequisite. And in fact, what Wiley are currently beta testing is something they're calling the all types profile, 5 behaviours profile, which is a response to several people asking them for a behavioural profile that is not DISC, that is actually closer to the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And that's currently going through beta testing. When I go to the Wiley conference in a couple of months' time, I will get some update on that, and I'll be very happy to feed that back out to our clients and associates here in the UK.
Great, that's it from the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope we've covered all you need to know at this stage, but if you're anything like me, there will be some things that you will suddenly think of after the session is finished. So as we come to the end of the session, please let us know what you'd like to happen after we've sent you the samples of the main individual report, the progress report, the summary of all the content of the modules. We'll send you a little link to a video where Pat explains how his whole interest in this concept and idea came through. So, thank you very much for your time.